Hi again, everybody. Another edition of First Person, sponsored again this year, as we're glad to say, by the Crystal Room in Troy, 552-7680 for your next event, large or small, including the new Signature Lounge for private parties. Gorgeous place to have your next event. Check them out. Call Jessica Brown. It's the Signature Room on West Market Street, right on 55, the edge of Troy, conveniently located in the heart of Miami County, across from the Kroger Plaza, sponsors of First Person. This is almost a command performance because you still have lots of friends, Matt Burgbacher, up in Fort Laramie who say to me, hey, Kim Metz has been up there a couple of weeks. How about talking to the old ball coach, our old ball coach, now the coach of the Troy Trojans, and congratulations on a fantastic start this year, because yours is really one of the special stories in area football to come from a 2-8 season last year. And we're going to talk about this a little bit. You said it, you predicted it. We're going to turn things around in a hurry. You have.
You got to give credit to the kids.
Of course.
It's the kids have really bought into what we wanted to do. We saw signs of it last year. So those guys that were seniors last year, I wish they had another year because they were really buying into what we were doing. We just came, was on the short end of the stick a few times. But, I've got a great coaching staff here. Everything's in place with a great coaching staff. We got great administration up there at the school that supports everything that we do. And we've got great kids, So when you've got those three things, and we have a great community that obviously we've seen the last few weeks that it's back.
Yeah.
Football is back here in Troy.
It matters.
When you're able to fill up, our side of the stands 2 weeks in a row, that says a lot for the support this community gives to the schools, but also to this football program.
It's easy to say, and we talked about this. You and I have known each other a long time. We've done a lot of ham and eggers like this. And, you said to me back in the spring, hey, look, we're going to turn this around sooner than later, because, and you just made your point, kids have bought in. We got good kids. And you said something that stuck with me all summer. We got kids that want to be coached. Remember saying that?
Yeah.
We got kids that want to learn, they want to be coached, they want to achieve something, they want to win. Now that's easier said than done. That's coach speak. A lot of people say, yeah, everybody says that. But you've been able to pull it off. And you've had a couple of very good quality wins, not the least of which is Trotwood, because after you beat them, they've been thumping everybody else pretty good.
That was a great statement game for us. That's week one.
Yeah.
You want to make a great statement. There were still a lot of doubters out there, but the key was the guys in this locker room really believed that we could get this going, and they wanted to get this going. It just wasn't talk. They worked their tails off to get it. We still got a long way to go where we want to be. But, right now, I'm very pleased with where we are. We're sitting at 5-1. We're 2 in the region. We're ranked 9th in the state.
Yeah,
It's just, it's great, but we still got a long way to go, and our kids are still hungry. They want more. And each day they show up ready to work. And like I did say, they are a coachable group. We're hard on them. My coaching staff.
Yeah.
We are hard on the kids, and we've been even harder on them the last 3 weeks because we're not fighting complacency, but as a head coach, you're always worried about it.
Yeah.
And so we just got to keep working.
And people who write to us from out of the area, they're Miami County people, Troy people, got an email from somebody near Los Angeles last year, Troy native, wrote back and said, how are they doing this? They have big time recruits. What? No, you don't.
No.
You got just average kids. You're not particularly big. You're not particularly fast. Got a nice quarterback in Hayden Cottwiger, but you got just kids.
We do. And how many D1 kids do we have? I don't know. We have no one on our roster right now that has a scholarship offer. So these kids are just ones that come in, but the two things that they've got a huge heart, and the effort they give on Friday nights is you can't compare it to anything because our kids play so hard. It was a sign 2 weeks ago against Miamisburg. Our kids were devastated. They were absolutely devastated that they lost that game. But you know what? The one thing I can't question is our effort and our heart, because our kids left it all on the line. And if you would have seen them in this locker room after the game, they could barely get off these benches because they were even guys that only got a couple plays, and they were so tired because they were into the game so much.
And the bubble didn't burst. And I want to talk to you a little bit. Matt Burgbacher, the head coach of the Troy Trojans, the 5-1 Troy Trojan, I might add. Our guest this week on First Person. I want to talk to you about last week's game because that was a very unique, a very special game because of your history in Tip. Your dad's history as the coach there for a quarter century. I know you're very close to Joel Dirk, the coach there. I know you guys have a lot of mutual respect. That had to be almost like playing a family member.
It was.
A brother, sister, something, aunt, uncle. That had to be, and yet you guys put it on pretty good, 35-7. And I want you to talk a little bit about that game.
It was a tough week. It was a tough week for me, but I still can't imagine what Dad was going through last week.
Yeah.
Just with, and during pregame when I saw the helmet, saw the jerseys, just, it all came back to me. And, that was tough. But once the game got started, it was just another team we were playing. After the game, shaking hands and stuff. I'm glad last week's over with.
Yeah.
But, it was tough for my family. I know Mom gave me a big hug after the game and said thank you. Just because it was, it was a reward after a tough week. And, obviously, we'll always, hold a close spot in our heart for Tip City and, forever. But, we're Trojans now. And our whole family, my brother was up from Nashville and, he was coming up to the Tip game because he's got a lot of friends still in Tip as well. And it was just, it was a fun game. Our kids played well. Our kids, we didn't talk a whole lot about, the personal and all that stuff, but our kids knew. Our kids knew that, he had been the head coach there for 26 years. And it was special to me because I get to do something every day that I love to do, and I get to do it with my dad.
Yeah.
And
they're only 8 miles away.
Yeah.
It isn't like they're total strangers.
Right.
Talk about the last 4 weeks of the season. You've got a very unique opportunity here because you have imminently, and you never know what the Pickle game's going to bring, but you look at schedules and you compare the fact that you're relatively healthy. You're playing some other teams that got some injury issues. Sydney, you know a little bit about them. Both their quarterbacks are out. They got some other people. Vandalia this week's had the injury bug. So you've got good opportunity here ahead of you. And I know you're not going to overlook anybody. You want to get to that point where you could finish in a very, very good spot.
Yeah, we could, and we talk about opportunities all the time with our kids. Just this week's opponent. Vandalia lost their quarterback week 2. They got the young Motter kid playing in their quarterback. Yeah. Now he started 4 games. So, and we've seen him progress, and he's gotten much better. Just more comfortable. And I know by the time we play, Pickle, their guys will be playing 7, 8
Yeah, they're playing totally differently
so,
now.
And, same thing with Sydney. The King kid's going to have a couple games under his belt. But, all that stuff, personally, I may think about it a little bit more, but our kids don't. Our kids are focused on Vandalia. And that's the biggest thing I've seen from this group. They're focused on the task at hand. They're not looking ahead of all the possibilities, but there are a lot of opportunities, starting with this week against Vandalia. A lot of computer points on the line. Hey, we're 1-0 in the GWAC North. We haven't won a league title here since 2000. That was the old GMBC, I think. So, if it would happen, this year, we're getting a fly, we're making a big deal because we know if we win the GWAC North, we're definitely going to go to the playoffs.
Don't want to jump ahead too far down the road, but when you're winning like you are now, and you said it's back, the culture's back, the enthusiasm's back here, and that transcends right down into your 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, that's all going well for you too. And that portends well for the future.
It does. My son plays Pee Wee football here, and I go to every game on Saturdays. And, last year there weren't too many people that came up. They would talk a little bit of football, but this year, I just want to
go. Now they're bringing you cake.
I want to be a dad. I want to watch football, but that's part of the job. And I enjoy that part of the job. I enjoy doing these things, and so yeah, it is. I can't go to the gas station without somebody saying something to me. Now I guess they know who I am, but I'm just the coach. I don't go out there and play on Friday nights. It's these kids, and these kids deserve. We've embraced everything this year.
We said it before, and I have to say it again. From 2-8 to however you finish up, 7-3, 8-2, 9-1 is really a fantastic it's the turnaround that you talked about back in the spring, and arguably the best story in the area in football this year.
You know, the only kind of regret I have is this didn't happen last year.
Yeah, of course.
You know, you wish it would, because, you know, we had a great group of senior kids last year.
But that's age old in football.
Yeah, you're right. But, you know, to see what our kids have done this year, again, we still got 40% of our season left, so we still got a lot of football to play. But, you know, where we are today, you know, being at 5-1, you know, and taking, you know, in my eyes, Miamisburg is one of the best teams in Division II football. And we took them, you know, to the brink. So our kids are competing, they're fighting, you know, they're leaving it all out there. They're being great teammates. And that's what, you know, as a coach, that's all you can ask. So, you know, hey, where the next 4 weeks takes us, you know, who knows? But, you know, we're going to go in every week. You know, we've got the same expectation every week, and that's to go 1-0. And our kids are working for that each week.
Command performance on first person by Matt Burgbacher. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Super story. Happy for you. And I know a lot of people watching this are going to be happy for you as well. That wraps up this week's edition of First Person, again sponsored by the Crystal Room and the new Signature Lounge there at the Crystal Room, again on West Market Street here in Troy, Route 55 across from the Kroger Plaza. Events perfected. Call Jessica Brown at 552-7680 or check them out online. The prompt is there, the email address or the internet address here on PressProsMagazine.com. Again, for next week, we thank Coach and the sponsors. Looking forward to another great week of football and coverage. Thanks to everybody out there, particularly, I mentioned somebody in California. We've got people in Tennessee, people in Arizona.
Japan?
No Japan yet.
Well, my sister lives there. I know she reads it.
She reads it. But people who say, hey, love the coverage from the Miami Valley on Press Pros, thanks for doing it. We're glad to do it for you. Until next week, for the coach and the sponsors, have a great week. Enjoy. We're out at whatever game you see this weekend. We'll see you next time on another edition of First Person.